Seven Hills Road, looking west toward modern Pigeon Creek. We are going to turn north. What you are looking at is preserved prism of the Wabash and Erie Canal. That is the towpath. We're going to move down here, show you the canal itself. And on this side is the preserved berm. The berm being more well preserved here than the towpath itself. We are going to travel north of Seven Hills Road and show you preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, an isolated Warrick County. Preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, 500 feet north of Seven Hills Road. We are standing right in the middle of the canal prism. You can see by the shadows the two mounds that are on either side marking the towpath to the right and the berm to the left. We're now going to do a quick 360-degree spin showing off this location. First toward the west. The overgrowth you see here is on a mound that sits roughly 2 to 3 feet above the bottom of the canal prism. This is the towpath. We are now turning toward the north. And the tree line you see there in the distance is where we start to lose the canal prism, although it comes back. We'll see that in later videos. We are now turning toward the east. Here you have preserved berm. And like south of Seven Hills Road, you have a more well-preserved berm than a towpath north of Seven Hills Road. We now return to our original location, 500 feet north of Seven Hills Road, looking south. Looking north, roughly 800 feet north of Seven Hills Road, and just inside the tree line, we continue to follow the bed of the Wabash and Erie Canal, which becomes somewhat harder to do once you get inside the tree line. But just want to make note, you have a preserved berm, which is that green mound you see there in the middle of your screen. You also have a very well-defined towpath, which we're going to look at right here. So you can see that tree starts much higher than the ground I'm standing in. This is the bed of the Wabash and Erie Canal, and that is the towpath. Towpath lies right on the edge of the woods. It continues on. If you're able to follow this, you can get to the very well-preserved section just north of this location. Wabash and Erie Canal, looking south, 1,450 feet north of Seven Hills Road. That green patch in the foreground is the canal, but it's not very well defined. However, we're going to turn to the west here. You'll notice there's a little bit of a mound. That is the towpath. And we look to the west, we will see a swamp. This swamp is fueled by water. Water that comes from this channel. This channel essentially drains the Wabash and Erie Canal north of this point. As you can see, that channel has water in it, as does this. This is a very, very well-preserved section of Wabash and Erie Canal. Again, roughly 1,450 feet north of Seven Hills Road. This preserved section stretches over a mile and is as nice as the section along Towpath Road near Chandler, Indiana. Preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, looking north, roughly 1,500 feet north of Seven Hills Road. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a visual here. It looks like the bed of the canal has a nice soft grass or plant life on it. That is in fact an aquatic plant floating on the surface, because right now I am knee deep in the canal. A closer view of the preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, 1,450 feet north of Seven Hills Road. We are looking north. You have a very, very well preserved towpath and canal bed that is roughly 3 feet deep and consistently has water in it throughout the year. This can be seen on Google Earth as if it were a functioning canal. It stretches roughly 1 mile north of where I'm standing. We're going to see how far north we can get. Just another view of preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, 1,800 feet north of Seven Hills Road. We are looking at the towpath mound, and we're going to move to the east and get a visual of the canal at this point. It is very watered, about 2 feet deep, with a nice array of water plants floating on the surface. Again, we are 1,800 feet north of Seven Hills Road in rural Warrick County. As we turn toward the north, and again meeting the towpath. We are now looking east, roughly 2,000 feet north of Seven Hills Road, with the preserved Wabash and Erie Canal in the foreground. But I want you to pay attention to the background. Notice how the land has been cleared. This was a strip mining outfit for the last decade or so. It is no longer being mined, but 5 years ago, the dozers came so close to the canal, I was able to wave to the drivers. But again, the important thing here is, even though they are strip mining close to the canal, they didn't actually strip mine the canal itself. We are now 2,300 feet north of Seven Hills Road, looking south at the preserved towpath and Wabash and Erie Canal. Just want to give you another visual of what this looks like. We're going to move from the south to the north. Just want to reiterate, before I said this stretches on for about a mile. It's not quite a mile. It's more like maybe 3,000 feet. Still, very impressive. We are now looking north at the towpath. Looking northeast at the preserved Wabash and Erie Canal, 2,675 feet north of Seven Hills Road. It's notable how many of the gaps in the towpath that have come about over the years have been filled in with beaver dams. Also want to note how beautiful this towpath is. One of the nicest sections of towpath on this entire section. Looking south, 3,000 feet north of Seven Hills Road. This is where we start to lose the preserved section of canal. It goes from a well-defined channel to a, well, for lack of better words, a grassy clearing. There are certain sections of it that remain watered, but as you can see, it's formed a channel where there are islands in the middle of the canal bed. The towpath also becomes a, for lack of better words, labyrinth of briars. But this marks the northern tier of a very, very, very well-preserved section of Wabash and Erie Canal. Again, moving back toward the south. One last visual before we go. We are looking north, 2,980 feet north of Seven Hills Road. This is where the canal goes from a bogged mess to a very, very well-preserved section of Wabash and Erie Canal from this point south almost to Seven Hills Road. Again, one of the nicest preserved sections of Wabash and Erie Canal in all of Warrick County.